Replacing an ordinary light bulb with a security camera seems like an easy and convenient way to keep an eye on your property without any additional wiring. But the question is, how much performance do you give up by going with a light bulb form factor over a traditional security camera? To answer that question, I bought every variety of light bulb camera on Amazon to see which one is the best and if any of them are worth using. In this video, we'll test their day and night image clarity, motion detection accuracy, notification speed, app experience, Wi-Fi strength, and finally their ability to light up your space since they are theoretically going to be replacing one of your light bulbs. For a price of $20, the least expensive camera that we'll be testing is this unbranded 2 megapixel 360 degree camera that uses the ICC phone app. The 360 degree camera is slightly larger than a standard A19 light bulb, but should fit in most light fixtures. Designed for use in an overhead light, the 360 camera has 3 cool white side-firing LEDs and a fisheye lens allowing it to see the area directly underneath and around the camera. The field of view will vary based on the height of the camera, but at a mounting height of 9 feet, the 360 camera gives an overhead view of a 16-foot diameter. Next, for $26, is this 2 megapixel Tuya Smart Life compatible motorized pan and tilt camera sold by more than a dozen different white label brands, but this one happens to be called Owluck. The Owluck has 4 front-facing white LEDs, 4 infrared LEDs, and is slightly wider but significantly longer than a standard A19 bulb. The Owluck has motorized pan and tilt through the app, but it has a very narrow horizontal field of view that I measured at just 50 degrees. After that, for $30, is this 3 megapixel pan and tilt camera from Xvim. The form factor of the Xvim is extremely similar to the Owluck except for the fact that it has infrared LEDs instead of white LEDs and uses the HomeYi Pro app instead of Tuya. The Xvim has motorized pan and tilt, but has a much larger horizontal field of view, which I measured at 82 degrees horizontal. Then for $32 is this slightly larger 4 megapixel pan and tilt camera from LaView that uses the LaView app. The LaView has an entire ring of cool white LEDs and, as I said, is slightly larger than the Owluck and the Xvim and may be reaching the limit of what could fit in a standard light fixture. The LaView has motorized pan and tilt and has similar field of view to the Xvim, around 82 degrees horizontal. Next, for $50 is another smaller form factor option, a dual lens 2 megapixel pan and tilt camera from EyeToo that uses the IPC360 Home app. In addition to dual lenses, the EyeToo has 8 front-facing white LEDs and 4 infrared LEDs for night vision. Even on its widest setting, the EyeToo has a narrow horizontal field of view of approximately 50 degrees, and the zoom lens is 4x magnification, which is approximately 30 degrees horizontal field of view. Also for $50 is this much larger 4 megapixel pan and tilt camera from Eversecu that uses the Tuya Smart Life app. Aside from the E27 light bulb base, the Eversecu doesn't resemble a light bulb and is likely going to be the wrong shape and size to fit in most light fixtures, and you're probably going to need to use an extender like this one to make it fit. The Eversecu has 4 larger front-facing white LEDs and 4 infrared LEDs for night vision. Like the last 4 cameras, the Eversecu has motorized pan and tilt, and the horizontal field of view is roughly 60 degrees. After that, also for $50, is this extremely similar camera from Zmodo. Just like the Eversecu, the Zmodo is 4 megapixel, uses the Tuya app, and has 4 white and 4 infrared LEDs. It has motorized pan and tilt and a 60-degree horizontal field of view. In fact, the only difference that I can see between the Eversecu and the Zmodo is the color of the actual camera portion, which is black on the Zmodo and white on the Eversecu. For $65 is this unique form factor 1 megapixel light bulb camera from Zmodo. The Zmodo is right at the limit of what might fit in your existing light fixtures. The Zmodo has a down-firing LED array with 8 red, 5 green, 5 blue, and 6 white LEDs. Unlike the previous cameras, the Zmodo only has pan and not pan and tilt, and the horizontal field of view is significantly larger on the Zmodo at around 100 degrees. The Zmodo camera uses the Zmodo app. For $99 is another unique form factor camera from Zeus. The Zeus is a 2 megapixel bullet camera that's joined to a 900 lumen floodlight LED array and an E27 base. The Zeus listing makes a big deal about having a US patent and being assembled in the US, but at its core it is pretty clearly just a cheap Chinese IP camera, and it uses the very generic and poorly translated CamHi app. The Zeus has no pan or tilt, but you can adjust the roll of the camera portion to help with the orientation after screwing it into the light socket. The horizontal field of view on the Zeus is approximately 80 degrees. And last, the most expensive camera that I tested was this $150 2 megapixel floodlight from Singlet. The Singlet uses a single warm white cob LED light source and also has a PIR motion sensor and 2 infrared night vision LEDs. The Singlet floodlight uses the Singlet Snap app, which for some reason is completely separate from the other Singlet apps that you might be using like Home, Pulse, Boost, and Bluetooth. Like the Zeus, the Singlet doesn't have pan or tilt controls, but the roll can be manually adjusted to help level the camera after installation. The Singlet has the widest field of view of all the cameras at approximately 120 degrees horizontal. Arguably the most important aspect of a security camera is image quality. So to test that, I hung each of the cameras from the same location, and I held up a sign with small and medium point font at 10, 25, and 50 feet, and I repeated the test both during the day and at night. During the day, the image quality from the Eversecu, EyeToo, and Singlet was significantly better than the other cameras, with the 360 camera understandably finishing last since it's not really designed for this type of application. And the zoomed in quality of the Singlet and Zmodo was definitely hindered by their large field of view. At night, the results were mostly the same, except for the Zeus performed significantly better and it managed to take first place using infrared night vision despite also having one of the brightest floodlights. The Singlet and Eversecu finished second and third, and the 360 and Singlet were last. There was no footage from the Zmodo because even after multiple attempts, I couldn't get it to recognize motion at night, and instead, this is the only clip that I got from it, probably due to my phone flashing infrared onto my face. Speaking of motion detection, reliable notifications and recordings are one of the things that's going to make or break your security camera experience. Too many false notifications and you're going to stop paying attention to them, but every miss represents a potential security event that you have no record of. One of the best solutions is to use 24/7 recording with flagged motion events, and all these cameras except for the Zmodo support 24/7 recording, while the 360 bulb records 24/7 but does not flag motion events on the playback screen. As for the accuracy of motion detection, I always recommend buying a camera with on-device AI person detection, since that will significantly reduce false notifications caused by shadows and blowing leaves. And of these cameras, only the Xvim, Singlet, and Eversecu have free on-device person detection, while the EyeToo, Zmodo, and Singlet require a cloud subscription to enable that feature. The 360, and Zeus do not offer person detection at all. Another important aspect of motion detection and notifications is how quickly the notification arrives on your phone. So during testing, I set my phone to LTE mode and I walked through the same route for each camera. And on this map, I have marked the location that I received the notification from each camera. You can see that the Singlet and Eversecu gave the fastest notifications, followed by the EyeToo, 360, and Xvim. And I've also noted whether the notification was for generic motion or for person detection. The Zeus and notifications were relatively slow, but they did arrive while I was still in the testing area, while the Singlet notification didn't arrive until almost 5 minutes after I finished testing, which was still better than the Zmodo and the that didn't send any notifications at all for the entire test. And while the events were recorded in the app, the Zmodo didn't have any record of the testing at all, and I had to repeat the testing 4 times before it actually recorded me. App experience is another one of those things that's going to separate these cheap, relatively generic cameras from more polished options like Eufy, Ring, and Reolink. And rating their ease of use out of 10, the only one that I would give a passing score to is the Tuya app. The process of finding an event, saving a recording, and downloading it to my phone was still ridiculously unintuitive and cumbersome, but at least it worked every time, and it's something that I could easily repeat if needed. The worst app experiences by far were the Zmodo and Singlet apps that barely worked at all and constantly crashed and threw error messages. Also, one of the sketchiest things that I've experienced happened while I was filming this video. The HomeYi Pro app made me register with my phone number, and after a night of testing where I was constantly plugging and unplugging the camera, I got an unsolicited text message from Xvim support asking if I needed help with my camera. And for some people, I guess this could be seen as a positive, but for me, it was a huge overstep of boundaries. A function of these cameras that I wasn't planning on testing, but definitely needs to be mentioned, is their Wi-Fi signal strength. I think most people are going to want to use these cameras outside, meaning the camera is going to need a strong enough Wi-Fi signal from your router in order to function properly. And I was surprised at just how bad the signal was from some of these cameras. I have a unified Wi-Fi access point mounted roughly 30 feet from these cameras and nothing but wood stud walls in between, and yet the Zmodo, Zeus, and cameras had too weak of a signal to connect and stream their camera feeds. I ended up needing to temporarily install an additional access point about 10 feet from my testing location in order to reliably use the Zmodo, Zeus, and but the other 7 cameras had no issues. The last thing that I tested was their light output, since these cameras screw into a light socket that probably had a light bulb in it before, so they need to be able to replicate the functionality of a light bulb. To test this, I used manual settings on my camera to properly expose my testing area using my normal 60-watt equivalent carriage lights. Then I turned off the carriage lights, and without changing the settings on the camera, I turned on each of the light bulb cameras. You can see that the Singlet and the Zeus cameras provided even more light than the original 60-watt light bulbs and did an excellent job lighting up my driveway, while the Zmodo was roughly equal to about one single 60-watt traditional light bulb. Of the pan and tilt style cameras, the Singlet and Eversecu had the brightest lights, followed by the EyeToo, view, 360 camera, and then the weakest white light came from the Owluck. Last place in this was the Xvim, which only has infrared lights and will not light up your area at all. One other important thing to note is that the Zeus has no way to control the light through the app, or even create a schedule or triggers, and the only way to turn it off is by turning the main power off and turning it back on within 2 seconds, which of course causes the camera to lose power and reboot, which, if I'm being honest, is the worst design I could possibly think of, especially since the Zeus has trouble connecting to and staying on Wi-Fi to begin with. All the other cameras have options to turn on the lights via the app, motion, or scheduling. So after all my testing, as someone who has tested over 100 security cameras over the past 5 years, I have to say that none of these cameras are very good at all. However, if you are looking for pure convenience and you want to install a camera into an existing outdoor fixture, the only 2 cameras that I think could possibly be worth buying are the Eversecu and the Singlet, which use the passively well-designed TUI app, have on-device person detection, good notification speed, and decent video quality for around $50. If you're looking to install a light bulb camera indoors just to keep an eye on room occupancy or to get a general idea of what someone's doing in the room, then the 360 bulb camera might work for you. And the good news is that it's ridiculously cheap at around $20. The 3 most expensive options, the Zmodo, Zeus, and Singlet, were unacceptably bad, and I wouldn't recommend them at any price. And the truth is that in most cases, there are much better options than these light bulb cameras. For $60, you could buy a WiseCam V3 PTZ and a light bulb USB adapter. These adapters let you continue to use your existing light socket, but also allow you to plug in power to your WiseCam or any other USB-powered camera. And that means for about $10 more than the Eversecu and the Singlet, you can end up with a much less odd-looking light source, a better performing camera, and a much more polished app experience. As always, there are no sponsored reviews on this channel, and I bought all the products that I tested in this video with my own money. I've got links down in the description for every camera in this video, and if you appreciate the time, effort, and money that it takes me to make a video like this, I'd appreciate if you could use those links, since as an Amazon affiliate, I do earn a small commission on the sale at no cost to you. I'd also like to thank my awesome patrons over at Patreon for their continued support of my channel, and if you're interested in supporting my channel, please check out the links down in the description. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and consider subscribing, and as always, thanks for watching The Hookup.